Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Foster, and this is Introduction to LARPing, right? So how many of you play Dungeons & Dragons? A couple of Dungeons & Dragons players, right? So now what is the difference between LARPing and Dungeons & Dragons? In Dungeons & Dragons, you pretend to be somebody, you've got your wizards and your mages and all of that, and you kind of figure out what's going to happen by rolling dice, right? But what if you put those dice down, you dressed as the character from that Dungeons & Dragons game, and rather than rolling dice to see whether you beat the orc or jumped over the ditch, right? What if you actually physically did it? And when you saw an orc, you beat them into a bloody pulp, right? So that's basically in a very safe fashion, very, very safe fashion. So live-action role-playing, LARPing, live-action role-playing is literally Dungeons & Dragons, except we actually do this stuff safely using foam weapons. So I brought in some of Culpeper's finest live-action role players. We're going to talk to you guys about the two different styles of live-action role-playing that's out there. Basically, two different types. There's a type that focuses more on live action, and there's a type that focuses more on anybody? Role-playing, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about each one today. The first thing I want to do is just have everybody kind of introduce themselves, say where they're from, how long they've been doing this. I will go first so the guys know what I'm actually talking about. So David Foster, I live here in Culpeper. I'm a former college professor, former Army guy, and I own Mountain Run Winery. And if you're into LARPing, it's also Mountain Run Mead. And all of that good stuff. I've been LARPing for about 6 or 7 years now. As soon as we opened our business doors about 7 years ago, we got contacted by a new East Coast LARP, and they said, hey, you guys have a big field and a forest. Can we run around your field and forest and hit each other with sticks? And I said, guys, I have been waiting for somebody to ask me that. So 250 people later, people flying in from England and Poland and all over the place, I was like, this is great. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, totally hooked. And the whole time, everybody was in your character and stuff. We were living it, waking up, eating, drinking, running around, talking, doing all of those kinds of things, and then lots and lots of glorious combat. So let me have these guys introduce themselves as well. We'll start with Patrick down here.
Oh, sure. I'm Patrick Hendren. I've been LARPing for close to a decade. Mostly with the rule set called Dagger here, and some Darkon now. And I started out with larger weapons like this, and as I got older and slower, I moved to archery.
Oh, so humble. He's still fast with a two-handed weapon, though.
I'm Bowen Romack, or Mooch on the field. I've been in it for my entire life. My parents did it before me, but I've only started fighting for the last 6 years or so. And I just do everything. I played Belagos, Dagger Hero, Darkon, you name it, I probably played it.
So they keep saying all of these words that sound like nonsense. Belagarth, Darkon, Dagahir, Amtgard. Those are the different LARP groups. Not groups, maybe not the right word. Rule sets, games
just different organizations
that are out there, orgs and stuff. These are fairly large groups. They've got chapters all over the place. Hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people do this. So if you find one that's more kind of combat focused or has different ways to be able to do things, there's lots and lots of different groups out there. Dan?
I am Daniel Joyner, a.k.a. Spire the Defilicus Windhaven at your service. I've been LARPing for about the same amount of time, a decade. He actually got me into LARPing the first time I ever did it. We've been doing primarily Dagger here, which is a very full contact style, as Dave has covered. This is more of a sport, less of a D&D experience. You go out there and do what you can as long as your weapons all pass safety checks and rule checks. Do you want us to just go right into the rules examples?
Yeah, so why don't you, well, let's just introduce the rest of our crew here.
My apologies.
And then we're going to get to the good stuff.
How rude.
We didn't bring all these toys here with us so that you guys could watch us just move them like this. We are going to hit each other in the head with them. So if you guys want to introduce your...
Not a head necessarily.
Guys, we do the more art role-playing type of thing. My name's Neil Wilton. I'm a Culpeper resident for about 13 years now. I started formerly LARPing with LARP Adventures about right after that first event, right? They had this other event in the spring, and we joined into that. I thought it was a great thing to do with my family. I got 5 kids, and with the young kids, You know, this is a good activity to do it. Get them away from any screens, right? Get them imagining things, get them exercising, doing all that stuff. So it's a really good family event.
Cool, cool. So I'm going to let them talk a little bit about how their game works. How do you actually fight? Like, what's going on? How do you get points? Why do some of them have short weapons, long weapons, archery, stuff like that? While I'm doing that, I want to pass around some of my weaponry right here. So I've got a sword. I'm going to send around so you guys can see what this feels like. I can hit somebody as hard as I can with this and kill them. No, I can hit somebody as hard as I can with this, and as long as I don't hit them in the face, they're going to be okay, right? So I'll pass this around, feel it. You can, don't try to break it, but you can get a good, sense.
You guys want to pass around these? These are.
Get a good sense of it. I have a dagger too. I'll send that around. Just make sure I get both of these back, or else we're coming after you. So
they are not cheap. And sometimes they're handmade and very sentimental to their owners.
So, and let's actually
treat them
talk
with
about
respect.
that a little bit. So what's one of the coolest aspects about both of our groups, things that we do? We actually make a lot of our own gear, right? So I personally didn't make too much of this other than my cloak and some of my other stuff. Did you guys actually make or modify garments, weapons?
This. I made the necklace pretty much,
made
but I got the pendant from other people and
made the
collected
necklace.
it. And,
Yep.
His grandma made my tunic.
yep.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Are your weapons homemade? Do you guys make those, or the mix?
it's a mix.
Yeah. So, and they're going to obviously pass some through. So, if
Yes.
you want to talk a little bit about what your event looks like, combat, how do you guys figure it out? Is it 1-on-1? Is it 10-on-10? Is it 80-on-80?
Gotcha. So in Dagger here, typically at larger events, what we do two different types of things typically. We do large day battles. They do campouts that can last a week or more. There's one up in Pennsylvania that happens at an actual castle. But most of the time, what we're doing is practice at our own field. Pretty much just keeping our skills sharp and everything. Yeah, it's right there. It's fine. Whoop. Cool.
Where do you guys practice?
We have practiced for about a decade at Yale Meadow Park. Every Sunday at noon. We have a full Facebook page. If you guys want information on that, feel free to hit us up after the panel. Let's see, what else? Do we just want to explain the rules to them, guys? All right, cool. So in Dagger here, you have several different types of damage that you can deal to other players. They're typically marked on the weapon you're using, but we call these one-handed weapons blues. They can do blue strikes, which is like a slashing damage, and then green, which is a stabbing damage. These all act differently. So if he and I are going against each other, and I take his arm like that, he loses an arm. If he's got armor, it takes 1 and then 2, wherever it covers, to take the arm. So the first hit destroys the armor, second hit takes the limb. Yeah, and he actually typically would communicate if his armor has been taken. Red shots, so this is considered a red weapon. It can do the green damage that we covered. It can stab, and it can also do what we call red damage. Yes, which takes my leg entirely. Remember, we covered armor carries 1 extra point of hit. They also do what we called shield breaking. Oh, he does, actually. You're already ready. So basically, a red hit is determined as the user of the weapon hitting the shield with 2 hands on the weapon. So a nice baseball swing, if you will. Go ahead. And that destroys the shield. 2 solid hits. This is the only shot in the game that is determined by the person with the shield or being hit. If it actually glances off, if you give him a nice little whew, like that, yeah, you just need to communicate to him that that was too light. So you say light and you move on with combat. The biggest thing is when you're communicating and fighting with other people, make it short and sweet. You don't want to be like, oh, hey, did you hit me? And have a discussion right there in the middle of the field. People will keep moving and keep the field of play moving. Let's see. We also have projectiles. Yep, and the javelin. So these are considered projectiles. They have to travel the distance of this once thrown to count as a projectile. You can also one-handed use it to stab people. Same thing with arrows. They actually have to fly. Well, there's no distance restriction on that. Huh? Length and a half of it, okay. So to even fire an arrow, I have to be at least a length and a half away from him. Yes. This is also one of the weapons in the game that can be fired at the head. So prior warning for everybody, you can be shot in the head with an arrow. These are all safety checked before each meet. Let me see it real quick. These are pretty much just your standard carbon fiber arrow shaft. They have to be carbon fiber. We don't want any wooden ones splintering on people. This is also PVC with a penny cap, and then another 3 inches of foam, followed by another 2-inch squishy piece of foam. They're very safe. They'll feel like a nice fist hit to the side of the head, honestly, as he's demonstrated. Go ahead, Pat. What?
Change positions.
Yes. No, here. That's a good idea.
Missing it.
Yeah. If it hits anybody, it'll hit Len. Yeah. We're good. Here, go ahead. Oh! What are you doing? No, you're fine. You're fine. Here. Just for safety. There you go. Hitting. Perfect. Dead center mass right there. And like I said, they feel like just a nice, sturdy hit. That's really about it. Same with javelins. They just kind of, that's it. Do you guys want to see some actual sparring real quick? Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So let's just have one on one or whatever.
one-on-ones,
Yeah,
yeah.
just to do it.
Do you guys want to go first?
Yeah. And then we'll talk a little bit about how our thing works. So one of the things that Dan said, which is really, really key, is this is basically an honor system game. If I get hit, and I don't think it was like a good hit, like he just barely tapped me, I'll just be like, you didn't actually get me. But if he gets a good hit, it's on me to be like, and I'm dead,
Yes.
or I'm injured and stuff.
Correct.
And so why is this called role playing? Because let's say you take off an arm for me. I don't just say, you took off the arm, but I can be like, oh no, kind of a thing, and then I'm going to keep on doing what I'm going to do, but without that arm. Not as funny as when you take out both people's legs.
Yes. Leave them hobbling on the ground. It's real fun.
So we'll do a quick demo here. Try not to break anything.
Yes, here, hold on, Pat.
Yeah, just going to take off some of those since we are inside.
Do you want the buckler gone too before you do anything?
Oh, that is bad.
Yeah.
All right.
It's fast. Very, 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 very fast.
Quick. You dive very fast.
Yeah.
And also, too, to cover some of the scenarios and stuff that we go through, we'll do team deathmatch, capture the flag. There's a lot of different fun things you can add, and it's really just left up to how you design something. You put as much effort into it as you're going to get out of it, in other words. If you plan something well, it's going to be fun. Yep. All right, I'll go.
Cool.
Your mic, don't mind. Give a mic on, don't mind.
Yeah, I don't
He
want
can,
to
he can,
actually.
whatever.
I don't
All right.
wanna
Well,
ruin
and
it,
I can
right,
actually
but,
let me do a little bit with these guys
You're
over
good.
here.
Go ahead.
So our combat is a little bit different. We're using slightly more real-looking weapons. So I'm actually going to take off some of my garb too. So one of the differences between cosplay and live-action role-playing is we have to run around, roll in the dirt, and fight wearing all of this stuff. So you really don't have a lot of stuff that can't take a beating, or you have to take it off.
Yeah.
So I will just lose that. Do you want to fight me, Neil? All right. Right? Hark there, fool! I will send thee to an early grave. And notice how neither of us have armor.
Nice. That's what you would call a simultaneous death.
We did not want to get hit. Neither of us wanted to get hit because one hit from either of those is going to end it and stuff. So Neil and I kind of danced a little bit. We kind of looked for that opening. I was watching his feet, watching his arm. I might send it and try to knock away one of his weapons. Throw my cape at him. Oh! And got him right there.
That's
You
dirty.
want a piece of this? Bring it on there, Riley. Riley must
he's got
avenge
two
the death of
swords.
his father. Oh, that is the death of me.
Yep.
So picture that with 50 on 50, right? So we have an event next Saturday, and right now I think we have about 80 people signed up for it, right? So 40 on 40, 50 on 50. And while we didn't bring a lot of our real kit, we have people that are in full plate armor, full real plate armor. And so whereas I took one hit and died, plate armor, you're taking 6 hits. Bang, 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 bang. And
a
then you're
lot
going
of
to go
health.
down. And so it's very, very interesting. Clearly, I'm out of breath. I haven't been hit in a long time.
Oh.
What was I going to say? All right, what else do you guys want to talk about with this? So one of the other kind of cool things about this, right? So they get together, they go out on the field, they fight, they play, they do all that kind of stuff. We do that same thing. But we also get together twice a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year, and we camp out. So this isn't just a run around on the field for an hour or two, but some of these are like weekend-long things and
Or
stuff.
week-long.
Or week-long. Some of the largest LARPs on the East Coast. How many people go to some of the big ones? 5,000?
Let's see, like Ragnarok?
Yeah.
I'd say like 2019 before COVID
Yeah,
and everything.
before COVID.
They were topping like 3,500.
Yeah, 3,500 people.
A lot of
and
people.
so you'll get,
They're in one place for a week.
yeah, you'll have giant field battles, 200 on 200, 500 on 500. Crazy. And do people sometimes get hurt? Sometimes. But generally speaking, we can go an entire year without anyone suffering any injuries, other than like a sprained ankle.
Yep. That's the most common one, weirdly.
Or a missing, yeah, there you go. Yeah. What else should we talk about with regards to?
I mean, we got.
Oh yeah. Yeah, question. Let me take a question.
I have a question that popped into my head.
Sure thing, please.
What's the difference in terms of like rules and stuff like that between like, you can take the mic? Thanks. Between like LARP fighting and like, HEMA.
HEMA, there we go. So that is a great thing to ask. So there's a lot of other rule sets or kind of games out there. HEMA stands for Historical European Martial Arts, right? So how did people really fight with swords and axes back in the day? So these are people that are, going back and they're reading the old books that were written in the 1200s and being like, how did they actually fight? And they're trying to bring those things, back, basically. And so they'll fight with actual weapons. They'll wear armor, basically, and stuff. They have different rules with regards to how they're going to hit people, but their goal is to kind of make things as real / safe as they can get to.
Per the manuals, if you will.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
there's
they always
obviously,
like to say.
Yeah, different ways they can do it. They're not always fighting with the same weapons. I know a lot of the sword fighters will do the canes, basically, and stuff. We actually host a group out at our place, the Armored Combat. If you've ever seen the History Channel show Night Fights from about 2 or 3 years ago, these are people wearing plate armor, wearing chain and plate armor, fighting with actual swords and axes. And they're not trying to be as realistic as they possibly can. They're trying to knock the other person down. So this is the mixed martial arts version, basically, where they've got a literal axe or a literal sword, and they're trying to knock the other person down.
Of course,
Bones
they wear
get
like
broken.
gambeson chain
Yeah,
and plate.
yeah.
They do the triple layer,
Yeah.
fully authentic method
Yeah.
of it, so you don't get ruined by the
And
blunt
if
weapons.
you want to see what that looks like, keep an eye on Mountain Run's Facebook page. We've got a major East Coast Armored Combat tournament coming up in June, where we'll have 6 or 8 teams from the East Coast coming out. And these are teams, you'll have 5-on-5. So you'll have 5 full-grown, 6-foot tall, 7-foot tall people wearing full chainmail, full plate, hitting each other with axes as hard as they possibly can, and stuff. But yeah, so there's a lot of different rule sets. Everybody kind of does it a little bit differently. Armored Combat and the other type require a little bit more expense to be able to get into. You have to have the right safety gear. All of this stuff is a little bit cheaper. You can come out and fight with either of these groups for basically free. You don't have to wear the fancy stuff kind of like this. You can dress like that. We are happy to loan you guys your weapons if you ever want to come out and kind of test it out. Come out. We obviously have lots, or they have lots and lots. We have lots and lots of extras
We
and
love
stuff.
newbies.
Teach you how everything works. So yeah, that's a great question. Any other questions? Yes.
Why do you like LARPing?
Why do I like it? So I'm actually going to let everybody else answer this, and maybe I will let you guys go first. If you guys, so how did you get in this? Why do you guys do it? Why do you do it?
wanna
After
take
all,
this one?
all the broken bones and bruises.
I was always an imaginative kid, and I started playing D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, back in like 1983. And so this was something that wasn't available then. I was like, wow, it would be better to have, do something and imagine it and play it out for real. And actually, I kind of began LARPing way back then. I mean, just with my friends and stuff, just picking up sticks in the yard and just imagining and doing that. And so now as an adult, it gets even more immersive now. I love the immersiveness of it. Love the imagination and the role playing and kind of living out that fantasy. You know, there's a whole bunch of other crazy other things going on in the world, and it's kind of just a getaway for me.
Like a weekend vacation. Yeah. Most of the time, anyway. I mean, for me, LARPing is honestly just a way to express oneself. I mean, you can see how much I put into it on a daily basis. This is a full fleshed out character that I've been working on for several years. It takes a while, and I bought it pretty much all of what you see here. As you explained too, though, there is different levels of groups that require historical accuracy versus don't. A lot of people like to go more fantasy. I personally love more fantasy, obviously. Yeah, that's pretty much all I could explain for right now. You guys got anything else?
For me, I was thinking about this on the way here. I thought this question might come up. One, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's so much fun. The other thing is it's really good exercise. I mean, we're out there running around. You know, our rule set allows grappling. You know, and the combat it's full speed, full power, and you're trying to run around. And I've got like a bow. I'm trying not to get hit. So lots of exercise, and then there's also the fellowship. You know, just the people you fight with and the people you have the campouts with, the best people you're ever going to meet.
And there's nothing better than sitting around a fire with your friends after a day of hitting people. It's just, there's something to that.
So I did want to talk about two other things that we haven't brought up yet. Well, technically three other things. So we're all basically fantasy up here, right? So we're kind of like the old school, like, you know, all of that. So are all LARPs fantasy focused? Are they all Dungeons and Dragons and knights and wizards and stuff like that? Not necessarily. And to prove that point, I brought a Star Trek LARPer who would like nothing more than to talk a little bit about his experience doing Star Trek LARP.
Oh, come on. This is a chance to show off those awesome props, too. Put him on the spot much?
Get up to New York, try to find a road. You want to live it. You got to feel what's that.
Put the mic near you, okay.
Okay, but anyway, no, my history actually goes back to my wife. We met for reenacting, which is basically LARPing, if you will. So this was the 125th of Gettysburg, but I met these guys in 2019, the fall of 2019. Well, I always enjoyed swordplay. So for me, LARPing, in this exercise, I just got off congestive heart failure. So I needed the exercise. This was great. So, and it gave me the opportunity to do some sword play. So.
You're being humble about that fencing, too, you used to do.
Indeed, I did do a little fencing. Got to utilize all that. And then Star Trek was my first one.
I love it. I love it. So there are other types out there. The real trick is finding them, right? So if you're really into Star Trek, Star Wars, there are groups out there that will do these different types of things. Best way to find them, there's this website or this app called, I think it's called FacePage or Bookface or Face, I don't know, something like that. Anyways, go on that, type in LARP, whatever your guys' thing is and stuff, and it should be really easy to find. There's actually quite a few people out there that do it. Speaking of quite a few people out there that do it, our average age, I don't want to age anybody up here, but our average age is probably in the 30s. Maybe a little bit more than that right now. If you come out to one of these events, there are quite a few teenagers that are out at these kind of things too. Our event lets kids come out, obviously, to be able to do it, as long as they're there with adult supervision. We might not throw you in the field in a guy, with a guy wearing your plate, basically, but there's definitely things that you can do.
Don't want him getting trampled.
And with our version, we do a lot of running around through the woods, trying to find hidden things, solving puzzles and stuff like that. And there are a lot of outdoorsy activities that kids are really into and stuff like that. Putting together stuff like that. At some of our events, about a quarter of our players will be non-player characters, right? So they will be people who have been given an actual plot piece, and they will act out that piece. So you will go up to them and say, hey, I'm this guy, I'm trying to find this lost sword of so-and-so, and they'll be like, well, in order to get the lost sword of so-and-so, you got to bring me the flower of blah, 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 and they got to find
NPC
that flower,
quests,
and stuff like that. Quests, yes. You guys know about quests, and stuff like that. So really, really fun. There's a lot of different things about it. So what do I like about this? two different things. One, something new and something different every day. The Amped Guard folks, they do an arts and crafts kind of piece of it where they'll like paint and make things, and there's a lot of different sides to it. It's not just what we just showed, which is the kind of the like
Purely
sword
the
play
combat side.
kind of a thing, but there's a whole lot to it. Aha, we did leave out, I have two other favorite parts. One of the coolest things about LARPing is bardic competitions.
Oh, man.
Singing, playing instruments. So after
Can
the
I
battles are done, right, we all get together and we form a circle and we play our drums. Do you want to talk a little bit more about?
This man came out on Halloween night after doing trick or treat with his kids and recited Chaucer for one of our bardic competitions. It was amazing.
It's a little bit Chaucer. So Daniel brings out his box drum and stuff
Any
like
sort of
that,
drum, really.
and we'll just sit there and play. We have a LARP band coming out of Baltimore to two of our events and stuff where they just sing songs about Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. But it's really cool. And if you've got a thing that you're into, you like poetry, you like singing, you just want to give up and give a rousing speech and everything, we have that place for that too.
There's very much a non-combative component to LARP. In fact, most people sometimes don't even fight. They'll actually only take part in the creative aspect
Yeah,
of it.
creative aspects,
And
bardic.
it's completely
stuff.
fun. You don't have to fight to be valid in LARP. You can do what you want to and have
Yeah,
fun with
yeah,
it.
a lot of role play opportunities.
This
So-
is only one part of it.
Yeah. And so there are two other things that I didn't mention. Magic, right? So that's one thing that none of us excel at. You guys don't do that magic, right? So you have the magic. A fifth tier. He's only technically a fifth tier. It only goes up to 6. That's like a pretty big deal. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that means?
go.
How do you cast a spell? How does that even work?
So really, there's different rules depending on what's the cast. A lot of stuff is, I don't know if we have any here. If you learn, like one of the first, like tier 3 or whatever, you learn is like magic missile, right? And so you get like a bean bag, like a yellow bean
Here,
bag.
toss that at him.
There we go.
Yeah.
See,
There you go.
he's got
That'll shove in, right?
And so really, what you have to do is, if for example I want to cast magic missile, I'd have to do, it's similar to Dungeons & Dragons. You have to role play for like 3 seconds, I think it is. Like say like.
Do it,
Throw
man,
at
do
me.
it.
Just cast it.
Do it,
Cast it.
cast it.
Oh.
Ah, you got it.
Yeah, and we also got different stuff. So there's like awards. So as part of the quest, it may be that people might try and steal something for part of the quest, right? So one of the things that mages who've been doing LARP for a while can do is cast awards where they put a rope around something and now no one can steal something. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. And all of the games are meant to be fun, right? So he just talked about stealing things, right? So what's really, really cool is if your faction, and so basically how we do this too, is all of our larger games are broken into like smaller factions. And the factions fight, or they try to take on other groups and stuff like that. And sometimes the factions raid the other factions' camps and maybe steal some of their stuff and stuff like that. So lots and lots of fun. So definitely out there. The other thing we didn't talk about is that 90% of us are dudes up here, right?
Oh, wow.
So
I mean, we didn't have to.
Yeah.
There are women in the sport.
So our group is about 30% female, 30 to 40% female. Amped Guard's got to be 40 or 50% male and stuff like that. Really, really fun. And it's one of those things where how often do women get to hit dudes in the face with sticks and as part of the regular thing? It's a really, really fun thing to do. And just is really great. And seeing someone who's never done this before come out on the field, take somebody on like this who's been doing this for like 10 or 12 years and beat them into a pulp and stuff like that is just a really life-changing thing. So what do I like about doing this? Why did I even want to do an intro kind of thing like that? LARPing lets us be the people that we actually are. When we're in our real life and we have to dress like this guy over here, like a button-down shirt and everything, it's like every turn and look, right? It's like, is that, yeah, casual day, right? But are we who we actually are day to day? Or, kind of thing, or what this basically does is this lets us be, all right, I believe that I am really like a king or something like that, and I'm going to be that person. I think, even in my day-to-day job, I don't get to be brave, right? I sit there and I push buttons and I pour things or whatever, right? Not that exciting. But when I do this, I get to be the person that I've always thought of thought of myself as and stuff. And so it's a really, really great way to kind of find who you are. And oftentimes, so why do people keep coming back and doing this over and over again, hundreds of people? Because those LARP weekends, those LARP days, are some of the best days of our life. Like, it sounds crazy, but being there with all of your friends, running around, sitting around the campfire, eating, singing, doing all that, having these great tales about raids and all of that. At the end of the day, you're like, I don't want to go back to my real life, because my real life isn't the life that I want to be leading. This is it, and stuff. And so once you've done it a few times, you really see that it really does, like, you can be who you've always wanted to be. You don't have to be who other people think you are. You can be the person that you actually want to be. And so it's a really, really great, engaging, fun way to be able to do it. And everyone there is positive. We all want to be there. We're all having a great time. We're not trying to hurt other people. Obviously, we've been doing this for a long, long time and stuff like that. But the idea is everybody has fun. And if you want to do it, but you don't want to get hit hard, you just tell people, hey, when you hit me, don't hit me hard. Got it, done. And it's not going to look different. I can wind up and pull my hit. So it is a really, really fun thing. Any more questions from the audience? Yes?
Come on up and use the mic.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, we got this. Yeah.
You're gonna bring it to her. What a gentleman.
I can walk, it's okay.
There you go. You got it.
What does that guy look like without the skull?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Just as scary.
Yeah.
You don't want to see all that
Yeah,
right
you don't
now.
want to see all that. So.
It can't be that bad.
There you go. That's a good one.
I'll
Yeah.
be wondering, like, what your face looks like if you don't show it. It's like, is it hard to take off or something?
Well, then that means you just have to come fight me when I'm not wearing it.
That's right. That's right.
I guess I'm just
Other questions, sir?
I speak loud.
Yeah, you got it.
How long does like a battle go? Like, do you respawn quickly?
That's a great,
I'll
great
take this one.
question. Yeah, Dan, I'll
So
take it.
there's different scenarios, like we explained earlier. There's different damage. Like if you take 2 limbs, if you get 2 limbs chopped off in our game, you are dead. You typically signify it by putting a hand above head, weapon above head, whatever. That is pretty much the stepping stone to, you can have capture the flag happen. You can just do like a meat grinder where people keep respawning and doing the same thing over again. There's different bridge battles. People like to add obstacles, and there's a lot of different stuff that you can do with the scenarios that we do. Like at the winery, Dave has an entire path in the woods and like a cool little village set up.
I have about 30 acres
gorgeous out
worth
there.
of space that we can run through.
And it's beautiful
Yeah.
out there.
So
Yeah.
one of the LARP events, it depends on what the story. It depends on what the storyline is going on.
Thank you.
Sometimes, like one storyline, you had to go back to the tavern if you got killed in a battle. You had to spend 5 minutes in the tavern. A number of us over 21 did not mind that at all. And then once you do, or one time you had to talk to. Was it death or something?
player
like
was
that,
death,
and he
yeah.
gave you a
Death will
riddle,
bring
and you
you-
had to solve the
bring
riddle
you-
to go back
bring you
out.
back.
So it depends on what the storyline is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But if we're doing one of those large, 10 on 10s, whatever kind of thing like that, everybody dies. One team wins, the other team doesn't. They say, all right, guys, want to do that again? Everyone says, yay! We go do it over again and stuff like that. So you can get a lot of just fast-paced combat. Take a short break. Combat. Take a break. So once you're dead, you're not dead for a long time. You're dead for like a minute or 5 or 10 kind of a thing. And then, all right, everybody pops back up. Let's do it over again.
And we do demand water breaks as well. You don't want to be out there like dying of heat stroke or anything else. Let's, be smart about it. Keep your salt and your water up when you're doing this kind of stuff, especially in summer if you're wearing a lot of armor and linen and stuff like that.
Yeah, just about the only injuries that we ever get in our summer events is people who are wearing plate armor and heavy chain armor and stuff like that, basically being like, it's too hot and stuff, because it is really, 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 really fun. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go right over here.
Who are the kids in the back?
These
Yeah, those ones?
these are 3 of my children.
What?
3 of my children.
Okay, what are their names?
Oh, Peter, Sophie, Riley.
Noise.
What are your
And
names?
2 others. And then we got Darcy and Lena, 2 other ones.
I love it.
In the audience. Oh, my player name is Cornelius. I'm the Baron of Catalpa.
You look like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, thank you.
Do you pick your own names, like everybody?
Yeah, of course. You develop your own character. You
Mic him up.
Right, it's part of the imagination in there. You develop a character, you can come up with your own name of your character, the background of your character. So for me, I wasn't always the Baron of
Baron Cornelius. I was just Cornelius, and then this king, King Foster, made me Baron Cornelius. And there's in LARP adventures, there's in this world Astera, right? And there's like 2 major continents in Astera, and so the factions control different parts of Astera, and there's different types of factions. One that's more woodland, one that's more like Mongols, another that's orcs and goblins, another that's a pirate faction. Our faction is kind of a mix between Greco-Roman and English, British society. So Baron Cornelius, Pierre LaRouge, Sophie, and Rylos.
Brilliant.
Rylos, there you go. We had another question.
So magic-wise, could you like cast a spell on someone or like poison them?
Oh, yes.
With like a potion bottle, like
Yes.
how I have right here.
Yep.
Here, hang on one sec. He's got this.
So we actually do play a different game that's called Dogcon that has magic, poisons. It has all of the things in it, and I'm actually a 7th level druid at this point. I can create poisons. I have multiple different spells I can cast on people. I have lightning bolt, entangle, warpwood. Like I have all kinds of different spells I can cast on people. I can use poisons on people and poison them. But a lot of people have immunities to poisons. So it's all depending on the game you play. Like
It's all a balanced
the
experience.
other game that we play, there was none of that. But in Dogcon, we have all of that.
We haven't covered Darkon that much. We have more hands up.
Lots
here.
of questions, yep.
So there is like espionage and that sort of thing. It's not just the fighting. It's a lot of like strategy outside of it, just like actual wars would have, really.
Yep. So our main game that we play has an entire world map. Basically, I've already got one. And the different factions control different places, and they can like move and take over your land and all of that and stuff. So yeah, there's a whole kind of like a world building part of it too, which is really, really fun.
Does anyone die?
Like for good?
No. Like roleplay, yes.
We'll role play death, and sometimes if your character is like you're kind of done with that character can die off, and you come back the next week with somebody different. So, yeah. Yep. So there's actually quite a few places that sell them. Epic Armory, Bergschneider,
Kalamazoo.
Musil. Basically, if you just Google LARP outfit or your weapons and stuff like that, there's quite a few. A lot of them are different. Some are more geared towards kind of what their stuff does, and some of them more look like this. This sword was about $160. This is from the Witcher and stuff. This is one of the ones that they made for it and everything. But you can get relatively lightweight swords for like 40 or 50 bucks and stuff.
She had a question.
Yeah, plenty other questions.
How would you know if somebody put the spell on?
That's great. So how would you know, right? So somebody poisons my beverage, right? How do I know? Well, that person's going to say, when I went over to you, I poisoned you. And you have to say, all right, I'm going to act that out now. So they have to tell you what they've done. One way that they can do that is they could write something on a little sheet of paper, poison, put it under your goblet, right? When you take that goblet drink, you look down,
No.
poison. So they didn't actually poison your drink, but they put something that said poison next to your drink. And then you would have to understand, what do I need to do to act out the fact that I have been poisoned?
For example, look at your hip pouch.
Did I just get poisoned?
Nope.
Oh, aha. Yes. So while I was talking and not paying attention, someone clipped this to me, and it says,
Great work.
underfoot. Oh, it's probably said who did it. Cornelius. So tell me about what just happened to me, Cornelius.
So it has who hit you. You got your pocket picked
I got my pocket picked.
by a member of the Underfoot Army.
The Underfoot Army is here, guys. So if I had like gold or something like that, I would find that, I would say, all right, so someone just picked it. I'd find them and be like, here's my pouch, buddy. So he doesn't actually steal it from me. He just role plays, sneaking up back at me when I'm not paying attention, putting that little thing on me. And then that means that he was able to do it. So the whole idea is that someone's going to do something to you, and it's not just them doing it to you, but it's you understanding that it's been done to you, and then how do you act back to it. So it's this kind of it's a role play. It's a dance. So, and stuff. And it gets tricky when there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's also really, really cool to like go through the whole in a day and then look down and you're poisoned and all this kind of stuff too. Do you want to talk about that?
So Rylos here has a ribbon on his sword, which means, I think this means that it has a magical, has 1 extra point of damage because somebody cast an enchantment on it to give it more damage.
Yeah. And so if he and I are going to fight, I'm going to see that, and I will have read the rule book, which I should probably do, and I'll see that, and I'll say, okay, when he hits me with that, I'm going to take 1 extra hit point. And off. Now, obviously, if it's a 50 on 50 battle, I might not have enough wits basically to be able to see that. But we have ways to be able to share with other people. Hey, when I hit you with this, it's going to do 2 points of damage, 1 point of damage. If you saw their weapons, they all have color codes to them: red, green, blue, things like that. So
like
that once you get hit by that, you're like red. Red means what? Kind of
the shield breaking hit. Or it goes through armor. Like, so if somebody has a red shot to my arm versus a blue shots, like typical one-handed slashing, would take the armor first. Second hit would take my arm. With somebody who does a full baseball swing with this on my arm, it completely kills my arm. There's just different aspects to what sort of damage can happen.
And then there's also, like, for the different kinds of spells. I don't have them with me, but they have different colored spell balls.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of like a spell ball. So when I cast a spell at someone, this one would be lightning because it's blue. Lightning bolt. So I could just be lightning bolt.
And a throwing knife? That's awesome.
He had a throwing knife.
So we have different colors that signify different things. And you would say visually what you'd do to the person. Like I said, lightning bolt when I threw it at him. So it's just one of those, like, we have different stuff to signify different spells, different abilities.
So also, a lot of times when you're in a big chaotic battle and you're trying to, you have an enchanted weapon or something. Let's say you go up behind someone, right, and you hit them with it. A common thing to do to prevent confusion is you go up to them and you just say 2, right?
Meaning
so they
that it
know
did
that
2
this
damage.
does 2 points, right, even though they don't have to see the ribbon.
Do you want to talk about courtesy and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, we also do different rules where we do, like, if you don't see someone coming up behind you, like I'm behind him and he doesn't see, you don't actually have to smack someone as hard as possible, just courtesy, just tap them and let them know that you don't have to, like, fully swing at them as hard as you can when they don't know you're coming, so.
Yep. Basic rules of engagement. Just keep it Keanu. You don't want to go out there and hurt each other. Any other questions?
Sorry.
Sorry.
We're going to you. He got the
I
mic.
just wanted to ask about the little emblem you two have. I noticed it's the same thing on your belts.
Oh,
or
this?
We
whatever.
have multiple.
Yeah, the purple one.
So we have this one, I have this one.
Is that like some sort of guild or something? Group?
Yes, essentially. Like he covered earlier with different units and factions and everything else, everybody tries to kind of signify what part they are a part of. Like I have a bunch of them, they might be favors that people give you, that you win in certain tournaments and stuff like that. Anything can happen. Basically, they're like little trinkets that other people give you.
Yeah.
That's a big thing in the game as well, is giving gifts to each other and appreciating other people's work.
Because, like, this one is all guild in Darkon. This is Jackal's Folly, Alvasari, Andor. Like, we're all part of different groups, and we've been all over the place and on them.
Like you started out in California and Illinois, so those are the two places
that's
he came
Illinois.
from originally. It tells a story, things have meaning when you put them on your kit. Anybody else?
Other questions?
Oh,
yeah, sorry, there we go.
Hang on, we have one person.
I was just going to say, it sounds like there's a lot of rules. So, like, how long does it take someone to get, like, familiar enough where they're good at it, I guess?
5 to 10 minutes?
Yeah, your newbie speech is what, maybe 15, 20 at times?
Yeah.
Same thing for us.
Yeah.
Whenever you show up, we can actually do what's called a newbie speech.
That's what I'm asking. Is there like an entry level?
Yeah, we have extra weapons, and we can explain everything once you come actually fight. It's a lot more intricate in the moment, but it's easier to understand when you're actually there.
And then we do have safety rules. Like, if you come, for the first 4 weeks that you come out, you can't use a weapon like this. You can't use a bow. because these are the more dangerous ones. Like this one can hurt a lot. We use
You can
real arrow
concuss somebody with
shafts.
it more clearly.
Yeah. It also depends on the rule set. You know, they've been talking, you know, some of the puzzles and adventures and quests and magic. That's more on the, whoa, hello. That's more on the, you know, the role-playing side. One of the rule sets we use, Dagger here, is more on the combat. There's like no magic except for healing on the field. No other magic. Everything else is combat focused. We also call it like medieval martial arts. If you ever taken any martial arts, it has that very same feel to it. And you could be out there hitting us, yeah, like they were saying, 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. We had another question right over here. Yeah. So how would you kind of integrate some of those things into the game? So if you showed up at our thing and you said, I've got these, how can I, you know, what can I do with them? We would say like, all right, that seems like a level 2, this type of person or whatever like that. We'll say that those are healing potions, and you can use them like this, and then the other potion is a poison, and we would basically take what you wanted to do and work it into our existing game, so that you would be able to kind of use the be able to use some of your things to be able to fit in. So our game is really open to having new people come in, try different things and everything like that. You don't have to you come in and we say, all right, you can only do this, you can only do that. It's more of like, come with what you are as long as it's safe and stuff, and we can find a way to be able to make it happen. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there like a head game master or storyteller?
Yeah, yep. So just like in Dungeons and Dragons, you got that like core figure. All of these groups will have a like day or a weekend, main person who sets the plot, who sets when the fights are going to be, what the fights are going to be, what the kind of back plot is, and stuff like that.
There's always a back into these things.
Yeah.
People are always plotting and planning and making sure people have a great time. There's also multiple safety committees involved. Like people have to uphold, insurance in case anybody gets too wasted, God forbid.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of people on the back end of all this.
Yes. Yeah. Steve.
Is there any purchasing or trading involved?
Yeah. Yep. So at our larger events, we will have vendors out and stuff. 2, 3, 4, 5 different ones. Ones that are selling garb, trinkets, your weapons and stuff like that. And you can also go to somebody and be like, I like that sword. I'll trade you this for it or something like that. We're always trying to like sell and buy other people's stuff.
So
from
the
them.
example that you gave was talking about like pickpocketing
Yes.
your coins.
Uh-huh.
Are those coins used for purchasing things?
Yes,
or?
so it depends what game you have. Our system has an in-game your currency, multiple different coins that you can get from doing multiple different things. And in-game, you can go up to somebody and be like, I'll buy 1 poison, from you for 5 of these or whatever, and stuff like that. So lots and lots of different ways. Every game does things a little bit differently. That very first LARP that we had out at our place about 7 years ago, where we had 250 people, we had an entire coinage system done for that. And everybody came in on the first day, traded actual currency, like took their $100, gave it to me, I gave them $100 worth of fantasy coins back, and then the whole weekend they could buy alcohol, they could buy food, they could buy shirts or whatever with it and stuff. So it was actually a real, and then at the end of the day, if they didn't buy anything, I'd give them back their $100 and stuff. But
on the other side of that too,
really
in
cool.
Darkon, they do have an in-game currency, which works kind of like that. This emblem that we wear actually signifies that we are a part of a mercenary group called Jackal's Folly. Pretty much there are land actions in Darkon that we participate in and fight on their behalf. Like if somebody's low on people that day, we'll be like, hey, pay us 10 gold a head, we'll do it for you. But yeah.
Question? So
different places.
All over the place.
Yes.
Mountain Run is the state's largest LARP site. We host 10 to 12 LARP weekends every year. Over 1,000 people come through our doors. These guys fight on a monthly basis, weekly?
Weekly here in Culpeper, we do practice pretty much every week when we can if we're not going to other events. We'd like to nomad over to other people's events and have fun with them. Typically, you'll find us going like every other Sunday up to the big Darkon fights up in Maryland towards Baltimore and Frederick. And there's different fights like out in, for Dagger here. There's groups closer to DC that have been there since the early 70s. We always try to pay tribute to them, go visit them. We know a lot of people out there. That's actually where Fodera originally came from, and I kind of poached him.
The biggest local groups, so you've got these guys who are based literally here, and there's a group called Zorn Vongal in Charlottesville. Those are your two largest local groups. My site hosts groups. These guys are from Culpeper. The groups they host are from the Baltimore area, basically, and stuff
All over
like
the
that.
place.
And we will pull in people from a 10-hour. People are gonna drive in from quite a far away. Any last questions?
For the bows and stuff I've seen, can you use an actual bow or?
These are real bows.
I hate to make it to you. Yep.
Yeah, it's just the arrows that are different. Yeah,
Yes.
that was my question.
Yeah. Caveat.
The pull weight. So I don't know what it is for the boffer guys. But
35.
Ours
Yeah,
is
ours is the same.
Ours is 35
Yeah.
pound draw.
Yeah. So 35-pound bow.
That's because I have a bow and I wanted to know if I brought
Yeah, not a compound bow, not your hunting
Yeah.
bow.
Nothing with pulleys or wheels or any sort of, There you go, perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Both.
Any of them. Whatever you desire.
The thing with these arrows, though, is you can't put them in the quiver point down, right? They have to go.
They're kind of chunky. Like here, what Fodera typically does. I've made him strip these earlier during fighting, because what they'll do is they'll fly right out. But this is how he typically stores all of his on the field. And that's how Bowen does his, or Mooch.
So at every event, you have to have all your weapons inspected, right? So the staff that's helping run it, they'll make sure that there's no breaks in your weapon, that's not going to come apart or hurt somebody badly. They're going to make sure that all your arrows or stuff are compliant, right? They're going to make sure that you don't have rounded ends, right? Because they worry about that, so they want to make sure it's flat. And so they have different kind of parameters for their weapons than we do. So these are good for LARP adventures stuff, and
That's good for the face and the...
One more question. Sure.
Yeah, we always have loaners.
Yeah.
Everybody's got
Yeah.
loaners on the field.
Yeah, we got
It's
lots of
fine.
extras.
So my first LARP event, I came with my own weapons, and it got shot down. They're like, Skip was running. It was like, no, these weapons are not going to cut it. But we got
Safety.
plenty of other ones for you,
Yeah,
and we have some loaners to start with, and then I really like the loaner, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy it.
So I always think that we should finish on a high point, right? So I'm going to let you guys choose. We're going to do 1-on-2 battles. I'm going to take on the Baron and his son, because I would hate for Riley to have to fight anyone else. But you guys are going to get to pick. Which of these 3 characters should take on the other 2? This guy fighting the other 2? And let's do it by yay!
Yeah, come on, give us some crowd involvement
Should
here.
this guy take on the other 2? Absolutely. This guy? Sounds like, all right. So Daniel is going to take on you guys in a one-on-2, and then I will take these guys on. We are going to be here, obviously, afterwards. I think there is somebody else coming in right after us, so we'll just be right out there if you want to talk to us, things like that. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and come out and LARP with us. So, all right, we'll do a little
Come
bit
out and have fun.
little bit of battling.
You guys first, then.
Oh, we're gonna go first. All right.
Just going to get all this stuff more against
So if I'm fighting 2, right? So, and normally I'd be in a much bigger space, and I'm going to try to use where they are against themselves. So what I would like to do is get around him so that he can't get to me without having to go through his own guy. Unfortunately, that's not going to work for me. So the only tool in my toolkit is treachery. I'm going to feint, right? Not like, but I'm going to do a feint. I'm going to throw a sword up, try to get a dagger in there as fast as I can. Feint to one side, go to the other side. I'm feinting everywhere. They're going around. I got a leg. I got some more legs. He's in. He's out. I don't know what's going to happen. He's going to feint. He's not feinting. I'm going to try to push the sword out of the way. There's a leg. Oh, I got nicked in the chest, though, with my dying move.
Nice.
So, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Lots and lots of fun. All right.
All right, we're gonna do a mirror of what you guys get. If you could, yeah, give me a little bit more room.
Yeah,
if
give
you
me a
don't
little
mind.
more
Here,
room.
I'll take that if you want. Big heavy shield, I know. Sorry. All right. Are we ready? Leon. Come on, come on. 1, 2.
Yeah.
He got the back immediately.
I love it.
Nice.
Thank you guys, and thank you guys for all being here. So we will be right out there if you guys need us for anything. So appreciate it.